Hi everybody, welcome to A Real Marriage. I'm your host, Andy Gillis, and this is my beautiful, beautiful co-host, Katy Gillis. All right, so why are they here today?
So we know that you're here because you're probably thinking the same thing that we are, that we just want to create a healthier, happier relationship. We want to make things better. And you probably want to do the same thing. For some reason, for some relationship, you want to make it better. And so we're in that same heart, and we're glad you're here.
That's right. And we share three critical things that we include in all the message, all the material that we bring to you. Is one, God's truth. Mm-hmm. Two is life experiences, things that we've gone through, and all the people that we share their lives with us, we share them with you as well. Yeah. And also training that we've gone through for many years now, and we are bringing it to you. Mm. So those are the three things we base all of our videos and our lives are going to be based on that. So let's go to the meat of the show. It's assertiveness and active listening.
So if you are on our mailing list, then you will receive two things on Friday. You received the Sunday night meeting tool, which we're advocates of meeting on Sunday night, or at least once a week, with your spouse and having a conversation about the week and having a conversation about your relationship and how things are going. And so if you're a subscriber, you always get the Sunday night meeting tool just in case you want to have a template to do your own meetings with your spouse. And then the second thing that you received on Friday was the Assertiveness and Active Listening worksheet.
We want to start with assertiveness.
Okay.
And start off with kind of the textbook dictionary term for assertiveness, which is the ability to express your feelings and ask for what you want in the relationship. So why is this important in your relationship?
So essentially, it's important to be assertive because then you're allowing the communication to begin, and you're actually asking for what you want in the relationship. And this is really helpful, especially if you feel like you are a kind of a quieter personality, or maybe it's a tough thing you want to bring up and you're not so sure how your spouse is going to respond. Right. And so sometimes if you are not sure how they're going to respond, you're not even going to say it at all. So assertiveness is really great to bring up anything, anytime to your spouse. And so that's why it's really helpful. That's
right. It's good to be assertive because it builds your communication skills and it helps them be cultivated with your spouse.
Right.
You know, being assertive is not always going to be textbook and always be perfect the first time you bring something up. But like I said, it cultivates that communication between you and your spouse.
Because you don't want to have things go unsaid, essentially. Because that's how barriers to intimacy happen when you don't feel like you can be heard or you're not being heard. Sometimes it's just helpful to have to develop that skill to be able to communicate your needs and wants to your spouse or to your significant other.
That's right. It's your time to ask for what you want.
That's right. Being assertive, think of this as I'm asking for what I want.
And we are here, and this exercise is here that you will have to be able to have at least a structure, a third party to say, okay, well, this works a lot of the time, and I'm going to use this, even though I may be nervous about my approach or a little timid, or you're kind of questioning, well, how's my spouse going to respond?
Right.
You know, depending on, no matter what it is. That's why we're here to help you do that.
Developing the skill of assertiveness.
So let's give an example of assertiveness.
So, and I'm going to use my little cheat sheet notes here. An example of being assertive, it looks like this. Andy, I'm feeling out of balance. While I know that we're both busy with our careers right now, I'd really love to spend more time with you, just relaxing together. I'd like for us to take some time to talk about that.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm not going to answer. We're going to kind of break that down of what Katy just said and what kind of key points that she hit on that. It's very short, very sweet, and there's you're sweet too. There's a format. There's kind of three things that we want to go over that Katy included in that example. And the first one was stating how you feel.
So I said, I'm feeling out of balance.
That's right. So it's good to bring some feeling into there to give a little oomph, of what you're gonna say. Mm-hmm. And number two is asking for what you want. What is it? And Katy said that we're busy right now, but she wants to spend more time.
I want to spend more time with him. That's what I want.
That's right. And the third thing is what are you going to do next? Your action item. What is the next step? Which was?
And I asked him if we could find a time to talk about it.
That's right. We didn't solve the whole crisis or anything like that in 2 sentences. We're like, okay, we're busy. So let's put it on the schedule. Let's not solve it right here. Let's put it on the schedule. Sunday night meeting is a perfect time, I think.
That's true.
Or any night, depending on what day of the week it is, but setting that time.
Yeah. Active listening is the ability to let your partner know that you understand what they're saying, that you understand them. So this means to listen without interruption. It means to restate what you heard.
Right.
And it means to confirm that what you heard is correct. And so Andy is going to give an example of his reply to my example, assertiveness.
That's right. And I'm going to use my cheat sheet as well.
Yeah.
All right. Example is, I hear you say that you feel out of balance, and I want to spend more time together as a couple. You'd like to plan a time to talk about it. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So it may sound very structured,
yes,
but it works. I think when you're at this point where it may be difficult to approach your spouse, it's good to have a little structure, to really, maybe get their attention, and for you to be like, okay, I got it down. I know what I'm going to say.
Right. So the active listening part may also be a challenge for people who are really quick thinkers and maybe quick speakers like me. And it's a discipline to be intentional with your spouse. Because even though I might have great things to say when Andy's talking, it is better for our relationship that I sit, listen, really make that effort to absorb what he's saying, and then confirm with him that what I'm receiving from him is actually what he's asking as that active listener. Key points I'd love to go over one more time. The key points for the assertive is to state how you feel when you're bringing something up. State how you feel, ask for what you want, and set a time to talk about it, or what's the next action. And we love to have the default in our relationship. Let's talk about it. Let's set a time to talk about it. Because most of the time when things are brought up, it's not the appropriate time to talk about it. Maybe we're driving together, the kids are present, or Andy's at work or whatnot. So setting a time to talk about it is our default number 3 for being assertive. Once you get these skills down, and we have a little exercise for you to practice with each other on the worksheet. But once you get the skills down, you'll become more natural. You'll kind of sit into your groove on how you and then you just start communicating better. Telling Andy how I feel allows him to really get on the deep empathetic level to be, oh, well, she feels out of balance. Well, that kind of makes it seem like it's more important than just, hey, I want to spend more time together, and I don't give a reason why. Yeah,
and it also could take the delegation out of it. You want something, and you're telling them to do something. It takes the delegation out of it. There's a reason for that. And it's probably could be lasting for a while or however long. So it kind of takes a while to build up that feeling to be able to share that. So the cool thing is that when you know you're being heard and you're able to share your wants and needs.
Without judgment.
Without judgment, yes. Without judgment, intimacy increases because communication becomes better. So every time your communication becomes better, intimacy increases. So for all the guys out there, I think that's good enough.
Well, it's intimacy on several different levels, but yes, the one other level is included.
There is more to intimacy than just...
Let's talk about sex.
That's right.
Yes, so make sure you grab that worksheet. It's so helpful. It's actually the very same type of model that we give out to all our couples, where it gives the assertiveness and active listening scripts, so that you can kind of look at that and kind of put that in your toolkit, in your mental toolkit. And then it also gives an exercise on creating a wish list and going through it with each other. And it's real the wish list part, which we don't have time to do tonight, is on the form on your worksheet. I love the wish list. Oh, yeah. We've come up with some great vacations and some great ideas. When we just sit down and say, hey, what do I want more of or less of? And you kind of practice those assertiveness and active listening skills. Because listen, marriage is hard, and communication sometimes can become clogged up, or you can just kind of get into the groove or the rhythm or a habit of, this is how we communicate because we got this. But is it really the best? It's always good to look at opportunities to make things better.
We want to share a little story of kind of how we got it wrong, with the assertiveness and active listening.
Yeah. Which wrong?
So I'm going to share mine real quick,
Okay,
and then you can share yours. So in the days of old of Andy and Katy, when we were kind of just married and things like that, and we're getting the grips of everything, and we didn't really go through material, premarital mentoring, and any of that stuff. We had all this stuff. And, when we wanted to be assertive and we wanted to ask for things, we always asked for them at the wrong times. We look back at then, it sounded great. We just wanted to be assertive and ask for what we wanted no matter when it was, right?
So we didn't think about it.
So setting that time to talk about it is really key. So we didn't do that. When I would talk to Katy and want something, she would be in the middle of hustling kids off somewhere, or doing something in the kitchen, cooking a meal, or it just wasn't the right time. It wasn't at the right time where we're sitting in some chairs like this, and no kids, no work, no phones, and we can talk about things. So that's when I was doing it, and that wasn't working because it would just she'd hear it for a few seconds, and then it's over, forgot about, and then a couple days later I'm like, what happened here? So what about yours? I know you have a funny one.
It's very similar. It's typically back in the day, whenever I would want to talk to Andy, or here's an example, we get a piece of mail that I was like, oh, I got to talk to Andy about this right now. I would call him at work, and he had a very stressful job at the time that we learned all this. And my typical thing was to call him at work. He's like slammed, and I'm bringing up an issue or a challenge, and I want to talk about it, and I would really love to have it just give me an answer. Let's have it solved right now. But Andy is at work, in a
solving
stressful
other answers and providing other answers and solving problems. Yeah.
And so he couldn't. I was kind of pushing a request or requirement to him where he really couldn't give me his full attention. So it wasn't. So I would sometimes leave feeling like, oh, he doesn't understand me. He doesn't listen to me. But I wasn't giving him the opportunity to really focus on what I was saying. It's proven. It's like texting and driving.
Really, it's locking it in. For men, you got to lock it in. You got to make sure it's locked into the mind. And when you're at work, you provide an answer, just like Katy provided an answer when she was busy at the house and doing her business and things like that. But a couple of days go by, and what happened to it? It's gone. Mm-hmm. It didn't lock in and really get that repeat back and that affirmation that it was received well. So.
Well, and it's basically the truth, and the what this is based on is that human beings cannot multitask and focus to the best of our ability. We can't. It's like texting and driving. You cannot drive and text at the same time and do both well. No. People think they can, they cannot. And so what we learned is that the things that were really important to us, that let's set a time to talk about it where there's not going to be any interruptions. That's so right. That we can honor each other, ask for what we want, and then know that we're being heard and understood. And that has really been, I just want to say, in our marriage and our relationship, was really the kickoff to blossoming our growth together as a couple. And we were married for years before this. We learned this, and we were just in this. We didn't even know how to fix it, how to fix our communication barrier and an intimacy barrier. And so now those are completely open, and it's wonderful. And we want the same thing for you. So that's what we're sharing.
And the cool thing is the exercise is timeless. We come back to it.
We've been using it for years.
We teach it. We've used it. We stopped using it because we didn't really need it, but sometimes we come back to it.
Yeah.
We're
evergreen.
Like, depending on, it's evergreen.
I
love evergreen. It's everlasting.
Yes.
So we want to share some God's truth behind assertiveness and active listening.
And we do that because we are Christians who study the Bible. And when we find scripture that is so applicable and so true and so rewarding in any area that we're talking about, we're going to make sure we share it. And so that's why.
That's right. So the first one for assertiveness is in Galatians chapter 6, verse 2, and it reads, "Carry each other's burdens in the way you will be fulfilled the law of Christ." So carry each other's burdens, and that's probably a whole nother show in itself on how to carry each other's burdens in your marriage. But I think you get the picture for this, for being applicable for assertiveness.
And that's mainly also the listener. When you're the listener, it's really about the other person, and you have to lay all of your goals and your wants and what you really want to say. You have to lay that aside for a moment, and that takes discipline.
That's right. And for active listening, it goes to one of my favorite books, is James, chapter 1, verse 1 through chapter 1, 19 and 20. My dear brothers, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen and slow to speak. We all love this one. And slow to become angry, for a man's anger does not bring the righteous life that God desires. So, quick to listen, slow to speak. That's a great one.
And we just found that if we are able to take on each other's burdens and just in humility and love and really listen, and then completely leave everything of our selfish needs on off the table and come, as a listener, and come back and just be slow to speak and ready to mend and ready to support and serve. Who would not love to be listened to in that way? I know me. I just it's a gift and a luxury to be heard, understood, and loved like that. It's a deep love.
Yeah, and I know sometimes, even for me, and I know for a lot for people that we've mentored and people that we know, when they bring up tough subjects, and you've talked with your spouse about it and it was received well, you came up with either a plan or some kind of action item, and then all of a sudden, you're kind of either laying in bed at night or just thinking afterwards, you're like so relieved. It's almost like you went and did some like hour-long public speaking gig for the first time. You're just like, I feel like, the weight is off my shoulders. It's over. It's sometimes it can be like that. Yeah. So, and that's where this tool really comes in handy, I think.
So I hope you love it. We hope you enjoy it. It was made special for you.
Yep. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, this material is really good. I hope you enjoy it and you talk about it after this show. At your
Sunday night meeting.
That's right.
And if you love one of our shows or love something that we share, especially if it's impacted you, we'd love to hear about it, but we'd also love it if you shared it, because there may be someone else who, these principles we've learned have been so important for our relationship. I honestly would say we're still together because of this.
Right.
So if there's something you feel like, wow, this is just, people could stay together because of this, don't feel shy to share. We're so happy.
That's right. And it goes back to why we started doing these Facebook Lives, is to get this message and get this stuff out there to all the marriages that could be hurting out there. Yeah. So definitely give it a share. Yeah. So